when a guy meets your friends for the first time, should he pay for all your friends, even if there's like 4 of them? 1, 2, 3, yes.
Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Men really don't boycott much. We don't complain about much. Well, we complain all the time, but not by going in a parade and wearing pink hats and pink T-shirts. Well, some men do, but we won't necessarily say they're the masculine, strong, powerful type, the stoic type. They're more in line with the ladies when they go out to march against certain causes. But what happens when men want to disagree with something or really are unhappy about something, and you make it incredibly easy to just say no? Guys don't go out and we don't parade and we don't march, and because most guys, Daryl down at the car dealership who's wrenching on a car, he's not going to leave his, $25 an hour job or whatever mechanics get nowadays to go put on a T-shirt and march in a parade, mostly because he doesn't want to use a vacation day and he can't just take the day off for the cause. But, what happens when those guys have an easy way to say no? Well, Bud Light is finding out in epic proportion. I'm interested in the Bud Light controversy, not so much because I don't even drink Bud Light. I think, I don't know if I ever have. When I was back in the military, when I didn't have much money, Keystone Light was my go-to trash beer because it was very cheap and it was palatable, barely. But since then, ironically, Guinness is one of my favorite beers as far as like a main brand. This is a photo in the thumbnail here of a photo that I took of a draft that I poured at the Guinness headquarters when I was visiting. I paid the money to go tour the, the brewery, and it's very commercialized, but it was worth doing while I was over in Ireland. I really enjoy it, and you know what? You do taste a difference from freshly brewed right at the factory versus shipped over in a keg to the United States. I didn't think that was a true thing. Man, is this a good beer straight from the tap. I'm a Guinness fan. Well, anyway, to the main story. Bud Light went from being the number 1 brand, and right now I think it's slipped to number 2 or 3 in sales. But it's now out of the top 10 favorite beers in the U.S. as far as when a survey was taken. And the reason why this is important is because the survey is ongoing. We're not seeing the sales because they don't report quarterly earnings, and all you can do is look at how the stock is doing for AB InBev, which is the company that owns it. It's really hard to see directly on the brand what it's doing. And so, but a poll is pretty interesting because on this poll, Bud Light used to be like number 1 or number 2, right next to Coors Light, the article says, and Coors was number 2. So it was polled right up in the top, and now it's not even in the top 10. And as a matter of fact, it's number 15. So what happens when you tick off men who overwhelmingly drink beer and overwhelmingly were the ones buying Bud Light? They're out. And hopefully, the reason why I'm so interested in this also is because I hope this bleeds over to other products. I hope this bleeds over into more things, because when a company starts losing this kind of money, you're going to find that they're either going to change their tune, which is what we want, to come back to where the rest of most of us reside, or they're going to stay on the woke train and go right off the rails into the garbage. So from the Daily Mail, its reign is officially over. Bud Light falls outside of top 10 favorite beers in the U.S. following the $20 billion Dylan marketing disaster new survey finds. They say Bud Light is no longer ranked amongst the top 10 in the U.S. I forget, this is a British, amongst. The top 10 in the U.S. after the Dylan marketing disaster survey is found. In new YouGov poll, which asked 1,468 people, the public approved of the beer slumped so much it fell out of the top 10. While the promotion of Americans who liked Bud Light hasn't changed, the popularity of other rival beers surged, pushing it into 15th place. The latest slump in popularity comes after the disaster. We all know what happened with that. Since then, Anheuser-Busch has tanked more than $27 billion in market value, and 2 of its top executives took a, quote, leave of absence. So you'll see here they have Bud Light at about 42%, which is still too high for me, but it's beating White Claw, the ladies' favorite drink. It's still 2 points ahead of Coors Light. But you notice up at the top here, you have Guinness, you have Corona, which I'm not a fan of Corona personally, Heineken, not bad, Sam Adams, not bad, Blue Moon, and even Budweiser's down to 5th place, right near Modelo, which is, there's so many of these products that are all owned by the same companies that, the overall money loss for AB InBev or whatever it is, InBev, shows you how I don't even pay attention to the stock. But the money that they're losing overall, it may be a drop in the bucket when you look at all their brands. But the point is the message that's being sent, which is if you go too far, we will find a way to make you pay. And so the company itself may not be, it's suffering, but it may not be falling off a cliff only because of how many other brands they have to protect themselves that people just don't know about. They say here, for its survey, YouGov polled a nationally representative sample of 1,468 Americans. They found Guinness, Corona, and Heineken were the 3 most liked beers of 2023, with approval from 58%, 53%, and 51% of Americans. In the second quarter of 2022, 42% of Americans liked Bud Light, according to YouGov, putting it on par with Corona Extra, Dos Equis, and Coors Light. The Bud Light figure remained the same during the second quarter, but as other beers saw their approval rise, its relative approval fell in a tie with Pabst Blue Ribbon, MGD, and Miller Lite. The brand were accused of meddling in one of the most hot-button culture war issues there is. The partnership upset conservative drinkers. Now, let me pause there. I don't think it's conservative per se. I think it's the fact that you totally missed who your market is. Despite Dylan here and coming out and doing this, okay, yes, this is insulting. But he did the ad was about March Madness, which is a basketball, which is a sport, which men enjoy. And he's like, oh, I didn't even know this was a thing, like March Madness. And guys want to look at pretty women, not women that need have a 5 o'clock shadow and need a shave. And so they missed who their targeting was. And it just, it doesn't take much for people to go, I'll just buy something else. It is such a low effort boycott. And then after what happened to Target, I think more and more people are saying, because I'll tell you, this past June, there were a whole lot of rainbow icons on Twitter pages and a whole lot of messaging that shut down after just the first couple days in June. They didn't carry it on like they normally do, which in and of itself is a win. They're now having to double think and say, hey, maybe we don't want to dive into that. And that's the whole purpose of why this boycott is so important. Because, culture is upstream from politics, Breitbart once said. And so you need to change the culture to change the politics. Well, this is a great start in changing culture. And other brands are going to see this, and they'll probably back off, and they're going to step away, and that will help eventually change the culture back to something more masculine than a dude in a dress. They say the partnership upset conservative, and I think it was more than conservative. I just think it was men in general who are not into the wokeism, who were quick to boycott the brand, but also enraged the left, the liberals, who said the company failed to respond in solidarity. So they're like, okay, they put themselves right in the middle. Like they insulted, a ton of people, and then because they were like, okay, we need to be quiet on this, the left came out and said, oh, but you didn't stand up and shout even louder about how great we are. And now everybody's boycotting them left and right alike. Speaking to its 1.8 million followers, it said, was waiting for the brand to reach out to me, but they never did. I've been scared to leave my house. Yes, because roving bands of mad Bud Light drinkers are roaming wherever Dylan lives. Again, it's more hyper tribalism. It's more it's more ways to get attention. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, I'm scared to go out of my house. Oh, we stand with you. Be strong. Fight back against these crazy people. Do you really think anybody that drinks Bud Light is walking around its house? Who even knows where it lives? I've been ridiculed. I've been ridiculed in public. I've been followed and have felt a loneliness that I wouldn't wish on anyone. Well, there you go. Now, I don't think anybody should follow Dylan, but in the meantime, Dylan's out there trying to get attention. So when you get that attention, but it's in a negative way, welcome to the internet. Recent figures show sale of Bud Light dropped 27.9% on last year in the week ending June 24th. This was slightly better than its worst decline on record, 28.5% the week before. So I think these are comparison to the year prior. I don't think this is cumulative. So I don't think it dropped 21% and then the week after that fell another 23% and 23 and 24. Because if that happened, if you started at 100 and it dropped to 75, oh, well, that could be possible, right? If it started at 100 and dropped 21%, you got 80, and that drops a quarter of that, so it drops another 20 to 60%, and then it drops 23% of that, because each percentage drop is actually smaller of the whole. So you could end up, theoretically, if you kept dropping a quarter of every, you might end up after this many weeks being down 50%. So it could be possible, but I think what they're saying is this is a percentage of sales versus compared to the year prior. Because that's what it sounds like last year in the week ending. So it looks like this graph is comparing to the year prior. But either way, when you start at 20% down versus the year prior, and now you're at 30% down versus the year prior, this isn't letting up anytime soon. And if you lose 30% of your income, 20 to 30% of your income for an entire year, oh, you betcha that they're feeling it. Sales of the beer have continued to decline as the company continued to alienate an increasingly large portion of the market. The drop in sales coincides with increase in Modelo sales, indicating that America's appetite for beer remains strong, but its preferences are shifting. Now, Modelo globally is owned by InBev, but here in the United States, it is not. So people buying Modelo here in the United States are not giving InBev any money. Modelo Especial's distribution is controlled by Bud Light parent Anheuser-Busch, but in the U.S., operations are owned by Constellation Brands, which reported an 11% increase in sales for the second quarter of the year. In mid-June, Modelo became the best-selling beer in the U.S., a position previously held by Bud Light for more than 2 decades. Now, so this graph I want to show you up here, because they said Bud Light previously had polled kind of around Corona did, which was at 53%. Now, these are polls, and again, we'll have to see, and I think like Stella Artois, Modelo for much of the world, I think Miller is now also owned by InBevs. I'm not sure, but either way, they're getting punished. I wish more people would go out and find exactly what brands they own and just walk away. And one of the things that's nice about being very independent, I guess you could say, is like, for example, when enough brands go crazy, like I'm not buying Coke anymore, I'm not buying Oreo anymore, I'm not buying Unilever products in general, which is Ben and Jerry's and Gillette razors, and like there's a lot of companies I've walked away from. Does it cost me more money? Yes. Does it mean I don't enjoy? I love Oreo cookies. I really do. Fat Boy loves him some Oreo cookies. I haven't purchased any. Does that mean I miss out on things I enjoy? Yes. But hopefully, even if it's just me, they're not going to notice. But like Bud Light, if enough people say enough and they really do boycott, the problem is a lot of people say, I'll skip it for a month, and then they go, screw it. I mean, it's on sale. I'm going to buy it, or I miss it, or whatever. That's how they know they've got you. And one of the nice things about becoming kind of independent like I am is that, I'm going to go solar and I'm drinking rainwater. And when my house is done, I'll be drinking well water. And you can go down to the local market. the local farmers market and buy your beef and your chicken and your vegetables and your fruits from your neighbors, people that own farmland here, in my case, in Tennessee. And no big brands get your money. And on top of that, you're actually eating a lot healthier, and you'll feel better, and you'll live longer. I hope more people look into this and say, you know something, maybe my dollar doesn't make that much of a difference, but I'm going to throw my hat into the ring and at least say no. No matter how cheap it is, or no matter how much I love to eat it, because Ben & Jerry's is a very decadent, and it's a good ice cream. Cherry Garcia was one of my favorites. I haven't purchased Cherry Garcia in years, and I won't. You know what? Maybe in the long run it doesn't matter, but at least I can say, you know something, I don't want to support this stuff, and I'm not going to. And I hope more people continue to do it, because when enough people pick a couple of big brands and make them hurt and make them feel the pain, the other companies will see that and say, maybe we don't want to get involved in this. Maybe we want to keep our mouths shut, sell product, be a quiet brand, and not get involved. Because if you look at what has happened to Disney's in a lot of trouble. Like their parks visitation's way down, their movies are not doing well. You know, all it takes is a few big brands, and if enough people pay attention. And in this case, men are the big beer drinkers. Men are the ones that can easily buy a different brand. It doesn't mean they have to give anything up. They're just drinking a better beer, maybe slightly more expensive, but just a better quality beer, or just moving to a different off-brand. And it's an easy boycott. And I hope we can find some more easy boycotts to start pushing back against the craziness of society. That's the only way it's going to happen. These companies don't care about anything but their bottom dollar. And that's the way you have to make them pay. And if you can make them pay there, I think things will change. We'll see. Guys, movie night tonight, Saturday night at the movies. We're doing Cannonball Run 1 and Cannonball Run 2. So I hope you join me at betterbachelor.locals.com. Links below. Become a supporter today. $5 a month. You get to see 8 to 10 movies. So that's a pretty good deal. Now I talk over 90% of it, but I have the subtitles going. And it's my live stream. We just joke. We share memes about women and funny crap. And recently we've gotten on some weird chains of memes. Some of these guys, I'm telling you, man, you all going crazy. Other than that, we'll leave it there, guys. We'll see you in the next one. And put your money where your mouth is, or put your mouth where your money is. You know what I'm saying. Spend wisely. Make a culture change. It's the easiest way to try to steer the ship in the right direction. See you in the next one.